Hey guys, welcome to That Florida Feeling. How is everybody today? I hope you're doing good. I know it's been a week as time has changed. There's another Friday the 13th, and we've had a full moon. I don't know about y'all, but we just need to calm down a little bit. I hope you guys learned a lot from last week's episode. Today we're going to talk about something a little more fun. But first, I want to give a shout out to all of Unfiltered Studios and all the podcasts doing great things there. Check them out. They are some great indie podcasters with a wide variety of topics. So if you're definitely looking for a new podcast to add to your library, go check out Unfiltered Studios and give any of them a listen. Today we're going to talk about something I haven't talked about in a little bit, and somebody actually asked me about it. So it's perfect for this time of year as it is finally over the small winter that we had, and spring break is upon us, and we are going to talk about some Florida state parks. This is one of probably the best things about Florida is the state parks, and that's because they can do great conservation for the different ecosystems and the environment. There are about 175 state parks and 9 state trails in the state of Florida, and that encompasses more than 800,000 acres, and it provides recreational opportunities to both residents and tourists year-round. Florida state parks are supported by tax dollars, user fees, and to a much smaller extent, charitable contributions. Many state parks have an associated local nonprofit corporation, such as Friends of Washington Gardens. Most parks do charge an entrance fee. Residents can purchase an annual pass that is valid at any of the parks. Camping is available in most parks, with campsites being anywhere from primitive to hookups. Some even have cabins. All reservations for park facilities are handled through the private corporation Reserve America, which I have used, and it's actually really great and easy system to use. The Florida State Parks website is floridastateparks.org, and you can see any and all about every state park. You can get maps. You can check if there's anything closed. You can check what time they open. And it's a really great website because it really lets you explore different parts of Florida if you're going to see exactly what park is near you. Today, the first park we're going to talk about is Costa Caya State Park. Costa Caya is a state park just south of Boca Grande and north of Captiva Island. It is 12 miles directly west of Cape Coral, and it sits in Lee County. The park was formerly known as La Costa Island or Padilla Rancho. The island is probably one of the lesser accessible parks in the Florida State Park system, and that's because it's accessible only by charter boat or private boat. They used to run a ferry. The ferry is inoperational right now, which kind of sucks for people who don't want to have to charter a boat. But nonetheless, this is an amazing state park. Costa Caya is an island of one of the barrier islands that shelter Charlotte Harbor and Pine Island South. The park contains 9 miles of beautiful white sandy beaches and is 2,500 acres of pine forest, as well as oak palm hammocks and mangrove swamps. So definitely a great ecosystem. This island was once occupied by the Calusa people around the 1700s. They built a number of shell mounds on the island, and then starting in the 18th century, fishermen from Cuba began establishing ranchos, which was stations for catching and processing fish for the Havana market, all along the southwest coast of Florida Peninsula from Tampa Bay all the way to Caloosahatchee River, and probably including on this island. The ranchos operated through a period of British rule in Florida, which was 1763 to 1783, through the second period of the Spanish rule, which was through 1821, part of the American rule, and were finally forced out during the Second Seminole War. And I'm going to give this my best attempt at saying this correctly, guys. Torvio, commonly known as Captain Pepe, settled on the island in the second half of the 19th century. Born in the Canary Islands, Papadilla became a U.S. citizen in 1862 while resident of Key West. So he went from Key West to this beautiful island that was actually kind of named after him for a little bit. Papadilla operated a rancho on the island where he and his workers caught and processed fish for the Cuban market. A cemetery on the island actually holds the graves of him and his wife and 30 Cuban fishermen who died during the 1910 hurricane. The park is got a very long history, but it's also an amazing place for wildlife. The park is great for hiking, off-road bicycling, swimming, kayaking, snorkeling, fishing, picnicking, shelling, geocaching, wildlife viewing, camping, sunbathing, and of course, swimming in the ocean. Wildlife is actually really abundant in this park due to the different ecosystems, and you can find a wide variety on the island. Among the most looked for animals on this island are probably the sea turtles. And there are 4 species found on the island: the loggerhead, hawksbill, green, and Kemp's ridley. Those are all endangered sea turtles. So, again, if you ever stumble upon a sea turtle or its nest, leave it alone. Alert somebody who is in conservation, but leave it alone. In fact, this actual island has many volunteers who actually go over to the island and check the entire 9-mile beach every morning during sea turtle nesting season, which is actually now started in March, goes through October. And that's so that they can find nests, document them, put up a barrier around them, and save them so that nobody disturbs them. The loggerhead turtle is found far more than others on this island, and then the green one is a distant second. The loggerhead turtles and green turtles' eggs also have the most diverse niches. Their niches rely specifically on a climate and weather that allows the eggs to survive on land and hatch. The state park is a major nesting site for sea turtles in Florida, and these nests are protected by Florida State Park and regulated by volunteers and staff. Again, they are patrolled and marked off, so please do not disturb them. Another species found on the island is the trash panda. That's right, the common raccoon. These animals are actually predators of the sea turtles during nesting season. The eggs are also threatened by foxes, ants, ghost crabs, high tides, and stupid humans. Probably in that order. You can also see the West Indian manatee. They found come up on the island beaches every now and then. They are an endangered animal. Population is growing, but do not touch the manatees. You can see it from the beach or in the canals or the docks of the island. The West Indian manatee is found in Florida and Puerto Rico. And although they are part of the same species, they are different than so there's 2 different types of manatees. The type that you'll see here is the West Indian manatee. And they are diverse from the other manatees that you often see in the springs. You can actually see dolphins here. The bottlenose dolphin can be seen jumping, swimming, and playing along the beach from the island. You can see porpoises as well. Again, sea turtles. They like to use the beach to rest and nest. Again, sea turtle mating season, nesting season, whatever just started, so please be aware. You'll also see a lot of birds, like snowy egrets can be found on the island. They tend to stay near the beaches. It kind of looks like a small white heron with the big yellow feet. You also see bald eagles flying around the island. They tend to sit up high in the trees and sometimes will create nest. You'll also see the eastern coach whip, which is a snake. So yeah, this island has snakes, just letting y'all know. It's a docile snake. You can find it. It's very long. They sometimes reach over 8 feet long. They're very slender though, and they usually found on the ground or in shrubbery. They are very fast snakes as they can move about 3 miles per hour. They do eat insects, lizards, birds, and other snakes. They're usually tan in color, and you can usually see them when they poke the little heads out of bushes and grass. They are not aggressive, and they do not chase people. However, I'm sure if you pissed one off enough, it will probably try and bite you. But there is snakes on the island, beware. The park itself, though, is full of plenty of amenities. There's boat slips, beaches, hiking trails, picnic pavilions, a bathhouse restroom. It also has a small nature center and gift shop, which has nature exhibits and, of course, everybody's favorite souvenirs. You can also rent bikes on the island to enjoy really the full extent of it, to see just more than the beach you're standing at. Hey guys, I just want to take a second to tell you about Maine Love Water. It's rooted in Maine, it's made with care, and it's designed to refresh body and mind. Stay hydrated, stay present, and enjoy Maine Love Water. Fishing is super popular here. You can catch flounder, snook, trout, redfish, snapper, whiting, sheepshead, and tarpon. You do have to have a fishing license here, as well as in most of Florida, but if you want to try a new place to fish, definitely check this place out. And especially if you're on a charter boat, I'm sure that's not a far thing that they've never taken people over there to fish before. You can also scuba dive here. The park is home to a great scuba diving area. You do have to have 2 divers in your party, and you cannot remove anything. That is a Florida thing. Just do not, if you find something in there, just leave it. Especially if it's over 50 years old, it belongs to the state. You do have to follow all safety precautions, have dive certificates, and a safety buoy. You have to be up an hour before the park closes. Probably the most popular thing is shelling. Shelling is very popular at this park, and you can find many different kinds, including clams, scallops, oysters, and olives. Fun fact, if you find a shell that's closed, like 2 shells together, that's a live creature. Leave it alone. Do not take anything off the beach that is alive. If you find a conch shell, there very well could be something inside of it. So please be aware of that when you're shelling, guys. That, creatures use these for their whole life. Or, if you're a hermit crab, you just go to the prettiest thing. But that being said, if you do find 2 shells together, that's a living object. Leave it alone, guys. Unfortunately, this state park did suffer 2 major hurricane landfalls in recent history. On August 13th, 2004, Charley actually made direct landfall as a Category 4 storm, tended to mess up the island a little bit, finally recovered, and then on September 28th, 2022, Hurricane Ian again made direct landfall as a Category 4. That was a very bad storm that tended to mess up the entire area. And that's kind of caused some things on the park to still be closed. The ferry is inoperational, and you can't camp right now. Normally, you'd be able to camp on this thing. They had primitive campsites with like fire pits and places for everybody, but it is not available at this time. I hope that they start that again soon, especially the ferry, so that more people can go visit, because it is a beautiful, beautiful state park, even if it is one of the lesser accessible. If you ever get the chance to go or take a charter boat, or you have a friend that has a boat, go visit this state park. It's absolutely amazing. The next state park we're going to explore today is Werner Boyce Salt Springs State Park. What a name. The park is actually located in Pasco County near Port Richey, Florida. The entrance to the park is actually at an intersection of Scenic Drive and Cinema Drive, and it's about 1 mile west of the intersection near US 19. The park is named in part for a 320 feet deep saltwater spring that is actually in the park, but not easily accessible. The park does include 4 miles of Pasco County's coastal waters on the Gulf. This park is actually super popular, especially in that area. I know when we lived up there, people were going to it all the time. Activities tend to include picnicking, boating, fishing, hiking, and wildlife viewing. This park actually has a lot of wildlife, which is really strange because it is really close to US 19, which is just psycho highway. The park's wildlife includes gray foxes, gopher tortoises, of course gators, manatees, and about 150 species of birds. Among those birds, you can actually find raptors, wading birds, shorebirds, and migratory songbirds. I know a lot of people used to mention that there was a lot of bald eagles in that park. The park does include a half-mile nature trail with a picnic pavilion and an information kiosk. You can explore the park's waterways by boat, but you have to get there yourself. There's no boat ramp as of yet actually in this state park. The park is actually fairly new, believe it or not, and it has planned additions including more hiking trails, an actual campsite for primitive and group camping, more picnic areas, and marked kayak and canoe trails. The park was named by Robert Pullen and C.J. Bennett in a contest where the two were classmates at Hudson Elementary School, so they actually got to name it. They picked a great name. Now you can use your own kayak and canoe in the park. Currently you can find some for rent in the park. They also have a concession area, which is Salty Dog Kayak Rentals, which is open 9 to 4, Thursday through Sunday. So basically on the weekends, you can actually rent kayaks or canoes through this little concession area. You can hike the spring trails that goes through the pine flatwoods and oak hammocks, where you can see tons of small springs and sinkholes. And on low tide, you can actually see a tidal waterfall just past the salt spring. So it's a really beautiful state park. You can also visit the accessible interpretive displays throughout the park, which kind of tells you the history of the area. You can also see a ton of birds, like I said earlier. You can see bald eagles, Rosetta spoonbills, the elusive black rail. You can see plenty of different kind of hawks, wading birds, shorebirds, and of course, as songbirds continue to migrate, which is kind of right now, you can see them everywhere in the park. The park does protect 4 miles of coastline, but there are no swimming or beaches yet because of the mangroves that line the shoreline. You can swim outside the park at Durney Key, which you can actually kayak from the park to this key. And there's actually maps available at the concession office. Another fun popular thing is bicycling. You can bicycle on all the trails. They do recommend helmets as it can be a little off-road. Fishing is actually fun. There's actually a lot of fishing here. I know a lot of people that I used to know used to go fishing here as well. You can cast your line from a canoe or a kayak, or you can explore the mangrove tunnels, get to the open waters of the park, or you can fish off the shore if you can find a good spot. There are a couple different trails here. There is the Scenic Drive Trailhead, which actually is the half-mile long one. There's the Black Rail Trailhead, which is off State Road 52. It's a 1 mile trip, but it goes through different habitats and gives you a view of the salt marshes. There's the Red Spring Trail and Cypress Oak Pass. That's actually one of the newer trails. The Red Springs Trail is marked and easy to access from Fisher's Corner or Eagles Crossing, which is another way into the park. It's about a mile as well. It takes you back just in a circle. The Cypress Oak Pass Trail goes from the north of the Salt Springs through a bunch of uplands, different habitats such as marshes and mangroves. It's only a half a mile, but this is the one where you can see like a bunch of great stuff. Like you can see wildlife, but you can also see the mangrove crab. The mangrove crab is the only crab that can walk straight forward and straight backwards as well as sideways. So they don't walk like normal crabs. They're actually kind of cool to see. Of course, you can paddle through this. You can paddle to Durney Key and come back through the park. They're pretty calm waters through the salt marsh. So you're not really having to deal with like super low and high tides through here. You're also not going to deal with a bunch of different obstructions. And it's a lot of mangroves. And you get to see a lot of different wading birds, shorebirds. You might even see a dolphin or a manatee come through the mangroves. Just remember, mangroves are full of spiders. Just had to share that. Found that out the hard way. You can do picnics. There is a picnic pavilion. Of course, walking, running, trailing are great for this one. Again, the wildlife is just absolutely amazing in this park. It's a good thing that they did it because it really does help to protect this area, especially the mangroves. Now, there's also a thing called the Saltworks. The Saltworks is a display that can be found just past Salt Springs at the end of Salt Springs Trail. And at this, you can actually learn the history of salt production right there in the park. It's a working display that is used for interpretive programming where you not only learn about the history, but you actually see the production of salt and how it's been done for 150 years on that very site. If you do decide to go, there are 2 interpretive kiosks to provide the history and then the importance of the saltworks. You can see handcrafted tools that were made in the same method that were used back in the 1860s. And of course, on display in the historic portion of saltworks, you'll see a 200-year-old sugar pot that would have been used for small-scale salt production. They also recreated an oven from the same stones you probably would have used for the original oven. You can even see newspaper advertisements talking about salts that were sold right there. So it's a very historic place. There's also a 12-foot recreated eagle's nest. That's right. You can see a 12-foot recreated eagle's nest, and you can walk around it. You can see inside of it. And if you look down through the glass door, you can see an actual sized eagle egg reproduction, as well as bones of the animals that eagles eat. So it's actually a really cool interpretive display of, the eagles that you see all over that part of Florida. There's also a kiosk with specific information about bald eagles that you can really learn about these magnificent animals. There is a self-guided native plant hike where you can, kind of travel through the trail system and find signage that was provided by the Native Plant Society. You can identify more than 20 native plants in the actual park itself. They provide the common and Latin names. Of course, there are a couple different ways to get into the park, like I said. Parking is available at each of the 3 entrances. Pets are welcome, so bring your furry friends. You can't leave them unattended. You need to pick up their droppings. And please understand that they're not allowed in all parts of the park. Of course, service animals are. There is, again, the picnic pavilion off Scenic Drive, and there is the main entrance on US 19 in Port Richey has the restroom facilities. The main entrance actually has the bathrooms, the canoe and kayak launch, boardwalks, hiking trails, picnic area, and concessions. That's where you'll find where you can rent a canoe on the weekends. These are the 2 state parks I want to talk about this week because one is new, and it's really cool that they're still designating state parks in Florida. I love that. And then the other one is just it's such a treat when you get to go because it is so inaccessible to, normal. Like you're not just going to drive over there every day. I do hope they open the ferry soon, though. I hope that wasn't an issue from the hurricane. But maybe they'll open it soon and we go back to camping on this beautiful island. I do hope that you all enjoyed your learning about 2 Florida state parks. I know I haven't talked about them in a while, and I'm sorry about that. Thank you for the person that suggested that. I don't know what happened. I just, we had other topics. If you do go to a Florida state park, be sure to understand that anything you take in, you need to bring out. Don't leave trash. Leave the wildlife alone. Some of it fights back. And always wear your sunscreen, guys. Like, take water, because some of them don't have water stops. Take water. Wear your sunscreen. And you'll find other people. You'll find plenty of places to take photos, but you'll also find Florida man. I mean, let's face it. We're gonna find Florida man in all parts of Florida. It's no exception to find them in a state park. Today's Florida man, though, is not a funny one. It's actually a sad one, and I want to talk about it to shed light on some things. An 80-year-old man fatally shot his wife because he would rather live in prison than deal with her because she had dementia. That's sad for many levels. He acted in frustration. She's no longer with us, and he's now looking at murder. Caregiving is hard. It really, really, really is. It's really, really hard, especially for loved ones and the ones that take care of the people who are dealing with these things that can't help what they're doing. It's just part of it. So, mental health is important, guys. Don't get to that point where if you are dealing with someone, if you're a caregiver, if you just have a bad day, take a walk, take a deep breath, get some help. There are plenty of resources. It's one fatal moment had tragic consequences. Because, sometimes people feel like they don't have the ability to turn and get help, but you do. I'm here for you if you just need to talk. I'm a caregiver myself. I fully understand what happens day in and day out, and sometimes people just see a snapshot of it and they think that they can tell you what to do, and they can shove it. And I have a feeling that's probably what this man had, is that he didn't have the help he needed, or people were reaching out in the wrong way. But just know that I'm here for you guys. If you ever need to say hi, I'm grateful for each and every one of you. And sometimes it's better to walk away and take a deep breath. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning about 2 very cool state parks. If you want to hear more, just let me know. Or if you have a suggestion for another topic, I would absolutely love to hear from you guys. Thank you again for all the reviews. That's actually the easiest way to support the podcast, is to review and share. Any post on social media or any episodes that you love, just share them with your friends. I would really appreciate it, you guys. I hope that you guys have a great week. Wear your sunscreen. Drink your water. Don't be that person. Take a walk if you need to. And as always, guys, That's your daily dose of sunshine.
This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.